Hi everyone. So we are here to make this session a deep dive into cognitive computing with Java. Please ask questions as we are going through our demos and various applications. It would be nice to interact with all of you. So moving forward, let's see what is cognitive computing. So, essentially, these are systems that can learn through training and education. They are able to communicate with us and express in terms that we like, namely speech or natural languages. And most importantly, they can build an expertise through combing large sets of data and give it to us at a pace that, as a human, we know that we cannot move forward with. And the very interesting piece is that they evolve. So we are here to talk about Watson technology that exhibits all of these characteristics as we go along. So these are some of the technologies that make up Watson. You can see knowledge graphs that are built for concepts. And when you give a concept to Watson, it will associate that with a concept in another knowledge graph and expand it. So it becomes a spiral, just like the neurons in our brain. So these are various technologies, algorithms, intricate algorithms that make up Watson. So let's see, how did we come along on this path? Many of you may have heard in 2011 of the Jeopardy game that Watson had against two other contestants, and it had at its back end lots of computing power. It had been built with a knowledge base of questions and answers, and it could go through not only those questions and answers, but associate them with a lot of graphs that were available to it to then make connections and come back with answers. Only thing it lacked was a human interface, so whatever Watson said was given as text and then converted into speech using one of the Watson services, which is text to speech.
Did anyone see Jeopardy? Did anyone see Watson on Jeopardy? Very few folks here.
Okay.
Are you guys all familiar with Jeopardy?
Right. So that was cool. It was an interesting piece of event. Then in 2013 came a Watson Engagement Advisor, which again takes questions from us and then in our domain-specific knowledge gives back answers and helps automate a lot of solutions in different industries. So Watson Engagement Advisor is moving along. In 2015, the coolest thing was that Watson services were put on the cloud. So now they are available to you free. You can go on the cloud, sign up, and you get 30 days free trial. And then after that, as long as you stay in the free tier, they are all available to you. And I mean, this is a long list of APIs that we will share with you.
So free with an asterisk. 30 days it's free, then every month you get a free tier, and you're only charged after you exceed them.
So Watson Developer Cloud is really cool. It gives you the services. Along with that, we have developed SDKs in various languages as well as platforms like iOS, Android, and Java, Python, and Node.js as of now. We are moving along to Unity SDK so that these APIs you can easily consume with very few lines of code. So we'll take a look at that as we go along. And then in this year, what we are offering is a lot of trainable models. So in your own domain, in your industry, let's say the media industry, you have models that you can train and have Watson be your expert with you to make your apps smarter.
So basically, you bring your own domain expertise with you. Like you are in media or healthcare or insurance, like Watson's not going to have that knowledge by default. You're going to have people who have that knowledge. So you convert that knowledge into training models, bring it to Watson, and then you start building on top.
So how is this being used today? So there are some very cool use cases that are in action today. So go ahead, Tejas. Yeah. This is a video of.
So this is a.
Yes.
Immersion training, thanks to a pilot project.
Hi, Connie.
How may I help you? I am Hilton's newest concierge in training, thanks to a pilot project between Hilton and IBM.
So Connie here is basically it's replacing the concierge service that you get at the hotels. So if you want to ask questions regarding like how do I get to the airport, what's a good place to eat, what's a good place to eat, what are the attractions around this area, you can use so they're just gonna go to Connie and ask as if you're talking to a human. Also, if you saw the robot, it nods, it moves its hand, it kind of tries to mimic human movement. And this is something that we have been piloting with Hilton at McLean, Virginia. So if you're ever there, if you're staying there, you'll see Connie instead of a human concierge over there. So it's pretty interesting. It's also a multilingual project. So instead of staffing your concierge service with someone who speaks Spanish, someone who speaks Chinese, someone who speaks English, you can just have Connie, and Connie understands multiple languages. So as a user asks a question, it will figure out what language it's in, and it will get the answer, and it will respond in that language. However, from developer perspective, you don't have to worry about that. You just build your database and whatnot on the back end in English. So it makes our life easier, and it improves the customer experience as well.
So if any one of you get a chance to go to Virginia, McLean, you would be able to see Connie in action. So it's a good experience. So here's another project.
We have another customer. It's a startup that. Make sure the videos. I'm not going to play the whole video, it's a long video, but they have built toys for children using IBM Watson. And I'll just play it for a few seconds.
Okay, what would you like to play?
Tell me a story.
I will need a few words from you though.
Repeat.
I will need a few words from you though.
Say, I have a guinea pig.
I have a guinea pig.
Echo mode.
Okay, I'm just gonna say what you say until you say stop.
Stop.
Okay, stop it.
Right, so this is a smaller version, so I just played the whole video, but there's a longer version which I'm going to skip. But the way this works is we have services that you can use to build conversations around with children. And again, this can be multilingual because we have language services. So you take languages, the language service, you take conversation service, you take our rank and retrieve service, and you can combine them. We talk about microservices. That's where like everyone's building stuff using microservices architecture this way. So our Watson services are designed to fit very nicely with the microservice architecture pattern. So there's another example of this is like they ask the kid to spell something, and the robot can check if the kid spells correctly. If not, it will correct it. So you can kind of you can see the use case. Basically, the robot is teaching your kid, improving their skills. They ask the kid, what's 2 plus 2? And make sure, what the answer they get from the kid is correct. So, it's a pretty cool toy that they're launching soon. So, we just wanted to highlight these two use cases, and then that customers are actually doing. And
so I would just add a piece. I mean, this speaks to me because as a mom of young kids, I would be so paranoid that every toy they play with should educate them. And so here is one that does educate them. But anyway.
Then ACM uses Watson's Concept Insights service, and what they have done is they have indexed all their documents, all their articles on their site using Watson Concept Insights. And if you go to ACM now and if you search for something, it's going to try to identify what concepts are related in a document. It's going to try to find concepts by that. It's going to link the authors, so it's going to create a graph of authors that you might have mentioned in references, and it will search based on that as well. So it's pretty cool. You can play with on the ACM side and you can try it.
Yeah, so for example, I just now put in cognitive computing and I did a search in real time, and it came back with all of these publications from ACM Digital Library. And the cool thing about it is not just a text search that we can do any day, any time. It is coming back with concepts like computational intelligence, artificial intelligence, and so on. All of these concepts are being returned along with the articles, and they will in turn bring in more related articles. Also, for example, if one were to click on the author here, then what he has authored articles with others, and furthermore concepts have been retrieved from the knowledge graph that has been built with the ACM Digital Library. So now there is big data coming into picture. There is, as we scroll down, concepts such as service delivery system, service processes, resource management. So you see, more concepts have come into play, and this can build up. So my search is conceptual. It's not a text search that used to be before.
So we're going to skip the others. I mean, we just wanted to highlight some of the actual use cases. Right? Whenever we talk anywhere, like the first question is, this is great, can you give me some use cases about these services? And so we just want to highlight how some of the companies are already using Watson. These guys have partnered with us for a while, so we have been working with them on pilots and stuff. Are there any questions? Yeah.
So this is text, pure text search?
No, it's semantic search.
Right. Have you ever done comparisons that have instead of users saying like I'm going to do this way, do that way, and just judge through responses like really like?
I haven't personally done it, but I'm pretty sure the guys who wrote the service have done it.
So the Concept Insights, I was fortunate to have interaction with Concept Insights developers in Yorktown Heights, and they have done comparisons with how the Google APIs are doing the semantic search as compared to our APIs, and they compare.
Not semantic, I'm talking about text, the semantic.
Oh yeah, yes, of course, yeah, text to semantics, yes.
Yeah, I haven't, but I have.
Text to semantics, definitely. I was also comparing APIs from other places. Questions? Okay. So let's get into the depth now. How is this being done? So these are the APIs in various categories that we offer, whether you're working on text or on data or on audio or images. We have APIs that will add a layer of semantic ability to it, as well as let the natural language processing be achieved just with going through the REST API endpoints for various categories. So let's see how that is done. So here is an example, audio analysis, that is using two of the services or APIs, which are Concept Insights and Speech to Text. Okay. So I would like to share this with you. What is being done here is that we take up a video, any YouTube video, give it to speech-to-text service that transcribes it. We get the text from it, and then that is fed to Concept Insights API, which in turn would give you the various concepts that are there embedded in the video, and based on that you can have a recommendation of what videos you should watch or what are the next steps you should take. So let's see how this is being done in real time. So, well, I'll just enter that. Okay. So let's choose any video here. We can even give a URL. Does anybody have a URL for a YouTube video? Okay, then let's go with this one. Okay, on coral reefs, it's a young boy talking about it. Okay. Stop playing. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Angel Rivera, and today I'm going to be explaining how tropical coral reefs are getting affected and how can you help the tropical coral reefs to be a better place. You might be thinking, what do humans have to do with the tropical coral reefs? Trust me, they have a lot to do with it. Like pollution. Pollution's everywhere, but in the tropical coral reefs is really affected by it. Also boats. Not the regular boat. The oil from the boat can really infect the ocean. But how would you like to drink water with oil in it? I know, disgusting. But for that reason, animals are dying. But if you thought that was it, think again, because there's this one called cyanide. From those that don't know what cyanide is a type of poisonous thing that stops fishes from breathing. And it already has killed 90% of fishes in the tropical coral reefs. Also glass fishing. Glass fishing, or dynamite fishing, is the practice of using explosives. So they get a bunch of fishes in a trap, and they use the explosives to kill them. And when I look up those pictures in the internet of the fish killed, I say to myself, why do people do this? You can check more information in greenplanet.com. There's a lot of information there. But not only us humans affect the tropical coral reefs, also natural disasters can really affect the tropical coral reefs. Like hurricanes. Hurricanes could affect the tropical.
Alright, so I think that, you got the idea, right, when you saw the demo.
Yeah, so I mean, you could have seen the reason I was scrolling down was to show the authenticity of the how speech to text renders the audio to text. I mean, even though the pronunciation was not that clear from the child, but the authenticity was there in the rendering.
So now one of the things you saw was like as the audio was streaming, it converted it. Now it didn't use this microphone here, like the app is written so that it takes the video, extracts the audio, sends it on the back end. So we just heard it here, but it doesn't use this audio from here. And as it was transcribing, you saw that it went back and changed few words here and there. And we'll show you that, when we run this in Eclipse, like you will see how you can do a continuous streaming and you will get those chunks, and Watson will tell you how confident it is. So if for those 5 people who saw it on Jeopardy, every question, every answer that Watson came up with on the screen, on the bottom, it had confidence level for each one of them. So most of our service, I should say this, most of our service will give you a confidence level with each result. So you get an answer back and it will tell you how confident it is it's the right answer. Some of the services that require training, like natural language classifier, retrieve and rank, if you don't train properly, or if your training data set is too small, you're going to see that your confidence level, it's not going to be that high. And that's an indicator that you need more data. You're missing data, you're missing training. So speech is, we'll show you how you can get those in chunks, and it will show you exactly what word was at, like at 5 seconds this word was said and how confident it is. And it will give you alternatives. So if it got it wrong, and I think it did, I think he was talking about cyanide here, and this came back as call sign here. And we can look at what were the alternatives at that point that Watson came back with. So we are using the highest confidence here, and it was most confident that it's a call sign, but there might be it might have had cyanide as an alternative, but it wasn't very confident in that. So second thing that was happening is, as we were transcribing this, we were sending it to Concept Insight service, and it was building a timeline based on the concepts that were mentioned here. And you can start, we start with this one. At 10 seconds, we talk about tropical fish, coral reef at 11 seconds. Again, the fish, reef, it keeps going. So next it does is, it does a conceptual search with the TED Talk database that we have built. So we fed, I don't know if you guys have seen the article, but we partnered with TED Talk, got all their TED Talk, and we built a database or we built a corpus with that. So it's doing a search against TED Talks here and trying to find TED Talks that match the concepts that are mentioned in this video. So you're seeing, two different services here, and you're seeing a lot of different functionalities. But we'll do a deep dive with this when we show you how we run this in Eclipse, and we'll show you the raw data that we get back from the API calls themselves.
So as we are talking about this is fresh enough. Yeah.
So is it very, very difficult if there's more than one speaker? If you've got two people in a conversation, does this become a monstrously hard problem?
No, the challenge is that we haven't, the service won't be able to tell you that this was set by speaker 1 versus what was set by speaker 2. For the service, it's all set by the same speaker. So
if I have, say, a recorded interview, and I can avail myself then of this Watson service, and it will send me back a transcript?
Yes.
Without saying who said what?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. The missing part will be, the speaker 1, speaker 2 part. So, but it will do it. And like we showed in this one, it can do it in a continuous stream. So you can you can stream it live, and it will give you back data as it figures out what the text is. Or you can just give the whole video and say like, whenever you're ready, let me know. So you'll just get back the full text at that point. And again, with every chunk of data that we send you, we are giving you alternatives and we are giving you confidence levels, which we'll see when we run it through Eclipse.
So while this is fresh in our minds, we are talking about speech to text, and we are talking about concept insights. Let's see the code in Eclipse. So here is a project with various APIs. So let's look at this simple class.
Actually, before you run it, let me show you how to get started with this code, right? We'll show you what the code looks like, how you can run this in Eclipse, how much effort you would have to put if you wanted to use one of these services. But the getting started part is, it's fairly easy. So, like we said earlier, like every single service is available as part of our APIs. So we publish our SDKs in Maven. So if you use, Maven or Gradle, or if you just want to download the jar and add the dependencies manually, you can do that. It's very easy. If you get the SDK through Gradle or Maven, it's going to bring all the dependencies with it. So if you're going to use speech service and if you're going to make a call using WebSockets, you don't have to worry about, what library should I bring for WebSockets? How do I make an HTTP call in Java? It will bring all the dependencies, and you just make the API call, which is about 10 lines of code here, and very easy to get started.
All right. So here you see we are invoking the speech-to-text service.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyone has used Lumix here before? We're logged into Lumix. All right, good. Okay, so the initial setup here with username, password, and the endpoint, that you get that from Lumix. We are not going to go into Lumix demo here, but it's simple. You sign up for it. It's going to say, okay, which service do you want to use? Click on the service that you want. Create. There's a create button, and it's going to show you services credentials, and that's all you need. You need the URL. That's the API endpoint. You'll have a username, you'll have a password. It's basic authentication for our endpoints.
So this is what it is. Just with the click of a button, I create a concept inside service in Bluemix on the cloud, and here I have my credentials, which I have specified in my main class here. So I created speech-to-text service and have my username and password, and then I have the API endpoint for it. Then I'm calling the methods on the speech-to-text service and specifying the content type that I'm passing in. It's a WAV file. So here is a WAV file that I have in my project, and just so that you can be verifying that Watson is not lying, I'll quickly play the WAV file here. It's a very quick one.
My family absolutely is fascinated by the work that I'm doing with Watson, and I think they feel a personal sense of pride and satisfaction with the fact that it's not just technology for technology's sake, it's technology that's actually making a difference and changing the world. My family...
So this is the WAV file which is here that is being passed into speech to text, and then we get the results from speech to text. Okay? We are getting the alternatives that Tejas was talking about, and after it is finally rendered the entire transcript, we pass it into concept insights.
So in this demo, what we are doing is we are waiting to get the final transcript. So we are not getting the intermediate data. Well, we are getting it, but we are just choosing to ignore it until it says, okay, this is the final transcript that I have, and we take that and we send it to Concept Insight to find out, what concepts are part of that, what concepts are mentioned in that video. So what we'll just do is I'll just add a system out here. So you can see, it's taking the chunks, right? It's bringing the alternatives, and actually I didn't ask for conference back, so it's just giving me what the alternatives are. And it's every time it sends me data, it's saying this is not final. I'm still question.
So if you're waiting on transcription data, right? How are you generating the timeline? So you were generating the timeline as well, right? Like the conceptual sort of like.
Yeah. So here actually, let
repeat the question.
So the question was, in this audio analysis demo that we showed, how are we generating this timeline? So let me show how that is done. Like we have an actual demo, so I'm not going to show that here.
So, in the demo that we were showing, going through, it was doing it on the fly. So that's why the timeline was...
No, the speech service gives you that timeline. So I think the speech demo that we have covers that. So let me just open that up. See if I can do it from here. Whichever one's faster.
So Watson Developer Cloud is heavily being used.
No, it's your oh, okay, there.
Yeah.
just going to play this
My
sample.
family absolutely is fascinated by the work that I'm doing with Watson, and I think they feel a personal sense of pride and satisfaction with the fact it's not just technology for technology's sake, it's technology that's actually making a difference and changing the world.
Alright, so here you can see the timeline that the service is giving you at 17.03 seconds, and between 17.22, what was the word, and then the confidence for the word. And as it gets more data, it gets more confident, and you know, when it generates a final transcript, it's almost accurate.
So we can get the timeline with the options in our
Yeah,
code.
so it's just that our API call didn't ask for this data, but you will get all this data back if you want it in JSON. Yeah.
So does it recognize the sounds like laughter, crying?
No, it doesn't. No, actually.
Laughter, I have seen it being, yeah.
You can use that in subtitling service.
Can we repeat?
So you can use that as subtitle. In the watch video, you can use it subtitling.
It will recognize and it will put it across.
Yeah, but I'm not sure it does for all emotions. I don't think we are fully there yet with emotions like laughter, crying. You know, it doesn't say about clapping.
Yeah, it wouldn't say clapping at this point in time.
If it did, it would be awesome, right?
But laughter, yes, I have seen that being rendered in the past.
I think actually.
We do have image
So-
recognition, right? Those are image recognition.
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Detect smiles and
Yeah.
Yes.
emotions.
So actually we have the raw output here. So you can look at the JSON and it tells you what start time for that word alternative, what was the confidence, what was the word, what was the end time. So, you know, what was the time frame where it detected that word in the audio. And you can go to these demos, upload your own files and kind of play with it. You don't even have to write code to test this out.
So all of the demos within Eclipse, they are in GitHub and the URL is there in the presentation. So they are available to you.
Yeah, and for every single service, if you just Google Watson Developer Cloud GitHub, you go to our service, there's a button like, you know, click on it, it will deploy to Bluemix, and you can have your own instance running. You can start training if you want. You don't have to write any code for that. Yeah.
How should we still switch unknown words?
Sorry?
How shall we still switch unknown words?
With unknown words, it's gonna try to come up with something. If it doesn't know what the word is, you won't like what's on the screen. it's gonna try to come up, like even if it's like 0.001% confidence, it's gonna give you something.
Let's say it's 0 like several times. Does it work for it?
Does it learn from it? Yes, it does. And actually that was a question earlier that was brought up, like someone asked like, hey, if I use Watson, do you keep all my data? You know, what do you do with the data? If some services are stateful, speech to text is not stateful, right? You send your data, we send you response back, it's done. However, we do use the data for learning. We will pick random samples. You do have an option of opting out. So if you don't want us to use your data for learning, if you don't want us to retain it for training, our documents will tell you exactly what header you need to pass so that we'll opt out. But even in our demos, we give you an option. So you can select opt out, and when you play this now, the data won't be captured for learning perspective.
So
Yeah. Sorry, I think you had a question earlier.
Yeah, actually, something related. So originally, all the concept, all the concept originally come from. So it basically come from some kind of dictionary.
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
So the default corpus for a lot of our services is Wikipedia.
Okay.
It's a good starting point, right?
That was the starting point, and then we have built many corpus that I'll share with you.
So if I have a specific domain and have some specific knowledge, if Watson doesn't have that knowledge,
You bring your own training. So you train Watson. You set up your own instance through Bluemix. You just say, give me an instance of this. You do the training yourself, and that training is not shared. So, if you bring training and it really works for you, with all the effort you have put in, we're not going to say, okay, great, now we're going to expose this for all the customers. It's only for your instance. Yeah.
So is it just a simple audio to text transcription service, or because there are like a lot of open source libraries that do that?
Well, yeah, but yes, there are open source alternatives, but IBM's been doing this for a few decades now. It's not even like few years, few decades. But we have primarily been the researchers behind these things, and working with other companies and bringing it to consumers. So we said okay, we have the technology, let's make it available. Now, but like I said, Connie uses multilingual, right? So you have speech-to-text transcription, but then you can send it for translations, so you are able to work with multiple languages and kind of build a real solution out of it.
So you have language translation as well.
So the reason I asked the previous question about the timeline, I thought that if I can feed, let's say suppose like a webinar video to Watson service, based on the timeline, I assume that it would give me like on a high level minutes of the meeting or the agenda that I can generate and share with the.
Well, it's going to give you a transcription. Then, or you can do what we do with these audio analysis apps, you can look for concepts that you're talking about. So you might say, okay, 5-minute mark, this is what we talk about. At 10 minutes, this is what we talk about. And you can also use that for tagging, right? You upload a video, you run it through this, you come up with the concepts, and those are your tags, so it makes it easier to search.
So post transcription, you can create a tag and.
Well, you can, in the demo that I just did, it was doing it in as soon as the data was available, it was creating those tags for you. And all these demos that we are showing are all open source. It's all on GitHub. It's all licensed in the Apache too. So if you want to just take it and start building on top of it, feel free to do so. Any questions? Any other? Yeah.
So just again related to a competitive intelligence perspective, there's the natural language processing aspect, and then the data sets that again the universal instance of Watson has. Then you compare to Alexa and Siri and these both aspects of NLP and the data set. What do you think Watson does?
So the key difference there is we are not targeting consumers. So we are not trying to be Alexa or Siri here. What we are trying to do is we're trying to provide these services with some basic data sets so you can get started like Wikipedia, but you are the middleman here. You're going to build something that uses Watson and then goes to the end user. We are not going to consumers, we are going to developers. That's the difference with Watson and IBM. So we are not targeting consumer products themselves. Like Connie, while we work with Hilton on it, the company that builds the robot is actually doing the work for that, right? So they are the ones selling the robots to Hilton. We sell our technology, we partner with them on that. So we are not going directly to consumers, we are going directly to developers.
But as a strategy, you're not, I know you have the opt-out, you're looking to ideally get as many data sets?
Not so that we can reach out to consumers. We are only using this data set so we can improve the services themselves. So that audio where we got, instead of cyanide, we got call sign, the more data we get on how people say cyanide helps us improve the recognition part of it. So that's the only reason. We are not using this data to build out a solution that we can go directly to consumers with.
And I would like to add, sorry.
What are the methods, input methods I develop in addition to speech?
So we support speech, you get text and images right now. We haven't gone to video yet. So video is not supported, but yeah, it will be there.
In terms of providing some raw data, say sometimes speech and images are not relevant, so you can collect a lot of data. Can be structured, can be not structured. How we deal with this?
So
features
you cannot feed in unstructured data as is. There is going to be some work required on your part to train the service initially. So whenever you work with machine learning, you have to lay down the ground. So that's where your training data comes in. That's where you're going to know exactly the data you're feeding in and how that's relevant to the service that you're using. Once you lay down enough ground truth and you start feeding in that unstructured data, the service will pick up from there.
So if you're talking about unstructured data from social media like Twitter or emails or Facebook and so on, then we have services that would take the unstructured data and give you the tone of all the data that you have. If you're talking about social media data, or personality insights that would take out traits from the social data that you have and put across what personality traits this person or this subject has. So that is unstructured data in one form that the services
Yeah,
deal
but
with.
I think you're talking about like, just bringing in data and being able to search on it and or bringing in data and being able to link it, right? Like in Concept Insight, we create a knowledge graph.
So if you can collect different facts about computation environment, about different applications, different interactions, different statistics, different kinds of statistics. And actually, I'm very interested how you can actually provide this data to Watson to then build some concept.
Yeah, like I said, like you do have to lay down initial ground rules, and once you do that, it's always going to be an incremental process. Like once you have a lot of data, you're going to notice that okay, for some queries the confidence is going down again, so you're going to bring in more training data for that service. You're going to keep training Watson periodically. As you notice that okay, it's not good at this part, it's not coming up with a high confidence answer for these questions, but it's handling these questions very well, something like that. So
the whole process involves starting with certain sequences or certain conditions.
yeah, so you kind of have to use these as microservices. So if there's something that rank and retrieve, right, that stores data, it's persistent service. That's where you're building like your search database. And that's where your data is constantly flowing in, your unstructured data that's coming in, just going in the database. Then, you have your training part, that's different API call. That's something that's an admin function that you have to do. You might have a different service that says kicks off a training once a week or something like that, right? And then that's just going to be a small part of the real application that you build. You're going to have different services around it. So yeah, it's a very use case specific.
Also for your data, I mean, you could structure it as a JSON or you could put it as a CSV. I mean, I'm just saying there are certain formats that you could lay on your data if you wanted.
We have a document conversion service, so you can bring your PDFs, you can bring your Word docs. You don't have to worry about converting it to JSON, just feeding those documents. But again, you're using a microservice architecture here. So the first call you make is the PDF comes in, you send it to doc conversion, get the data back, send it to retrieve and rank to store it. So you have two different services, but you are doing the call. The calls are not linked on our side.
So
does that help?
Yeah. Obviously, I'd like to understand kind of specific details, say how difficult it would be to bring the data and create some concept of the data. What kind of facility provided by this tool to help kind of build this?
Yeah, we can take this a little bit offline, but I can show you how easy it is to get this started, because I don't think we have set up the demos for training aspect. Training takes a while, so it's not like I can just start training in like 2 minutes, it's ready to start answering. You kick off API calls for training, it takes a while, so we didn't do any demos around trainings, but I can show you that after we are done this one.
It's actually a question, I didn't say like sorry for the question is really, if I want to bring my own specific domain to these tools, how difficult would be, how much effort it would be to create meaningful whatever model or whatever to start.
As long as you have your domain expertise and you know what you're doing, it's fairly straightforward to start using our service. If you say I'm going to do it I'm going to solve a healthcare problem, but you don't have the healthcare domain expertise, that's going to be challenging. So that's.
The answer is it's very much doable if you have the expertise, and that's where you want to go. So I mean, I was trying to show you various corpuses that have been built by developers in-house. One of them that we were sharing is TED Talks. So it is it's trying to load that. So I'm waiting for it. But in any case, there are APIs for building the corpus and for getting related concepts to a corpus for storing the concepts. So the answer is it's very much doable, and it has been done over and over and over. And it is publicly available, some of the corpuses, for you to verify.
So we have about 8 more minutes, so
okay.
let's go back to Eclipse. Let's do one more demo of any service. So this one had 2 services. We'll show something that's a little bit smaller than maybe 10 lines of code.
Yeah, right. So here is Alchemy Data News. Again, the same pattern that you instantiate the service. You give the API key. Alchemy APIs need a key. That's all. That is the only authentication needed. And then you specify what kind of results you want back. That is the title of the URL, the author, publication date, what is the sentiment, and for how long do you want to search on the news. So I'm here specifying for the last 60 days. I want to search all the news feeds that came in. And what do I want to search? Let's say I want to search on IBM and it's of type company, and I want positive news that has positive sentiment. I mean, I'm just trying to be upbeat and not look for negative right now. And I want the categorization to be technology and computing. So those are my parameters here, and that's what I'm feeding in. So let's run this quickly.
And while it's running, look at the code, look at how straightforward it is to use it with the SDK. We are abstracting out how to make the calls and all that stuff from you. You just provide your credentials, your endpoints, some parameters, and that's it. You get your output back in nice JSON. Everyone knows how to process a JSON here, so we're not going to show you that. And that's it. So, almost every service, and the SDKs are open source too, so you can just go look at our SDKs on GitHub. If you find any bugs or if there are any improvements that we can do, you can always send us a pull request, and there are contributing guidelines there. We are more than happy to accept that. And yeah, I mean, it's fairly straightforward to start using our services with the SDK.
Yes.
Yeah, does training involve providing feedback?
Yeah, there are tools like the natural language classifier. So you give a question and you get back a result. You can tag it whether it is right or wrong, and then there are confidence scores.
So it's not the same across all the services. Some services have started exposing the feedback API, some have not. But right now, not all the services have a feedback API.
So for example, this is the Watson natural language classifier, and here I built certain classifiers, and they are available to me. Now I can go into those, let's say this one, and I can ask a question. This is the data that is related to weather, different kinds of conditions and temperature that are happening. So anyone want to give a question for related to weather? Okay. Let's say, will it be sunny tomorrow? Okay. So I just want this to be classified, whether...
So it's not going to give you an answer here. It's not going to say yes or no. What it's doing is, this is one of the first steps when your input comes in is, remove the ambiguity from the question itself, right? Like, what is the user trying to ask? What does the user want to know? Like, okay, is it going to be sunny tomorrow? They're looking for weather information here. They're looking for something for tomorrow. So you once you know what the question is about, you can go to your own application, your own database, and get the answer for it. Like, if, in IBM, we have this IT Central where if you have an help desk question, you go start typing your question, and there was something we did as a pilot where you okay, how do I reset my notes password? And people will ask that same question 10, 20 different ways, but the answer is same. There is only one way to reset that password. So understanding the question, removing ambiguity from it, helps us narrow down, okay, what is the user looking for.
So what I was trying to do is...
I know I said notes and you started laughing.
So in this natural language classifier, the input I had given initially was two kinds of questions. One was related to conditions in the weather, and the other was related to temperature. So it is a very specific classifier that I have set up. Now when I gave a new question, will it be sunny tomorrow, the classifier came back with 0.98 score for condition. So sunny tomorrow is a condition, and 0.02 for the temperature. So if I like this, I can flag it as yes. If I don't, then I can say no, I don't like it, and I can add it to training data. So that's how you can train the natural language classifier.
So I think we don't have to cover the rest of the services. But it's fairly straightforward. So if you just go to the
vision
second one.
Okay. Yeah.
So in the slide deck, one of the interesting ones here is, if you guys like Lord of the Rings, we ran Lord of the Rings, all the books, all the characters through personality insights. I don't know if you guys are familiar with our personality insights service, but you can provide any text that you have written or someone else has written, and it comes back with what your personality looks like, or what the personality of the author is. So, it was interesting. We started with Harry Potter, Star Wars, finally Lord of the Rings. Each character, we took those, we ran through personality insights, and, so the IBM guys worked with them, and they wrote an article on it, and they talk about each character, like how is the character portrayed in the movie versus the book, and it's pretty interesting. So we have the link there. When you go back, look at it. It's a good read.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I just want to, out of curiosity, how do you score personalities? How do you render it?
There are three. I mean, it's a very
wait, so the question is how we show you the data, or how do we actually figure out the personality?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we use the Big Five, the personality test. It's pretty standard, and I think you can. I think we have links to Wikipedia about the Big Five personality traits, and so that's what we classify. But what we started off with to figure personality out is we started with a huge data set. We took all the books, all the characters. You get experts in what kind of personality they have. You kind of start building that data set. And then as more and more data comes in, we kind of try to figure out, okay, is the service doing it right or wrong?
But it's always from a text base.
Yes. It uses the Big Five.
You don't have any emotion.
We do. We have emotion analysis as well. So yeah. So if you, let's say you want to send an email, but you want to make sure that you're not being very angry or something, you're not portraying wrong tone, we do have service that will show you. And again, we have demos for all of this, so you don't have to sign up for Bluemix or anything. These are live demos. You can just copy paste the text and run it through them. So yeah, but it will show you okay, this word portrays anger, and it will give you synonyms to change the tone. So if you want to change the tone, because so I'm not English is my second language, so sometimes I use words that might not convey the right tone. So the service will help me okay, this synonym changes the tone, it makes it more milder, you are being very angry right now, or something like that. So yeah, so we do have service around emotion analysis, sentiment analysis.
So as a final question on that,
yeah.
The real, question that I had in my mind was that the one way you're doing it is by transcription, you transcribe it and you put it into a text and then you analyze it. And the other one is you take the raw WAV file and you do it in real time without transcribing. And if you do these two, how they match?
So like we showed you in the audio analysis demo, instead of sending the data that's coming from speech service to concept insights, you just send it to emotion analysis.
Okay.
And yeah, it's very easy. You're working with JSON for all of these services, so it's pretty standard. We try to make it as easy as possible for developers to use these services. So we are almost out of time. If you have any questions, we'll hang around after we are done with the second talk, and then we'll just find us and we'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much.